Ready for a deep dive into some seriously creepy stuff? We're jumping into The Black Panther, the complete story collection, and let me tell you, it's got all the ingredients for a spine-tingling good time.
Oh, it's a classic for a reason. Isolated village, ancient forest, whispers of a creature lurking in the shadows. It plays on some pretty primal fears, don't you think?
Totally. I mean, this village, Neller, it's practically cut off from the rest of the world, right? And the forest, it's not just trees and stuff. It's like this ominous presence always watching.
It's like a character in itself, wouldn't you say?
Girl.
And not the friendly kinds. Right from the beginning, you get this sense of dread, like something is deeply, deeply wrong.
And smack dab in the middle of it all is Father Emmanuel, trying to hold on to faith while everyone around him is losing their minds.
He's a fascinating character study, isn't he? This devout priest, a beacon of reason in a sea of fear and superstition. But even he starts to feel it, that unsettling shift, like something's closing in.
So we've got the villagers clinging to these old legends about the Black Panther, blaming it for every little thing that goes wrong.
Missing livestock, strange noises at night, you name it. But it's the children's whispers that really get under your skin. They claim to see glowing eyes in the darkness.
Oh man, just thinking about that sends chills down my spine.
And this isn't just any panther, right? This Black Panther, it's shrouded in this aura of the supernatural. It's bigger, faster, more cunning than any ordinary creature, almost like a mythical beast come to life.
Yeah, and that fear, it's contagious. It spreads through the village like wildfire until even Father Emmanuel, a man of God, starts to doubt.
It's that creeping doubt that makes the story so effective. Because what happens when even faith isn't enough to hold back the darkness?
And then a young girl goes missing.
Her brother, he barely escapes with his life. He stumbles back to the village, babbling about a creature, about eyes that seem to burn right through him.
I bet you could hear a pin drop in that village. Everyone's worst nightmare confirmed.
The fear is palpable. But in the face of that terror, Father Emmanuel makes a choice. He won't let fear paralyze him. He won't let the darkness win.
Armed with his faith and a book of exorcisms, he walks straight into the forest. He's either the bravest guy in the world or
he's walking into a trap he can't possibly comprehend. And that's what we'll pick up in our next part of the deep dive.
So Father Emmanuel, armed with his faith and a book of exorcisms, walks straight into the forest, like a horror movie waiting to happen.
And the author, they don't hold back on the atmosphere. It's like every step deeper into the forest is a step closer to something truly terrifying.
Oh, I bet. You were saying earlier about that feeling of being watched.
It's everywhere in this part of the story. The forest goes silent, like even the birds and insects are holding their breath. And the trees themselves, they seem to press in, like the forest itself is closing in around Father Emmanuel.
So he's completely alone, surrounded by this oppressive silence. What happens next?
Well, he keeps pushing forward, determined to find that missing girl. He's clinging to his faith, but you can tell doubt is creeping in.
It would, wouldn't it? I mean, wouldn't you be second guessing yourself at that point?
Absolutely. And that's when he sees them. Those eyes, glowing like embers in the darkness.
The Black Panther.
Doesn't leap out, doesn't make a sound, it just watches him. And the way the author describes it, this panther, it's huge, much larger than any normal panther. Its fur is like a void, absorbing the little light that manages to filter through the trees.
Okay, yeah, now I'm getting goosebumps.
Father Emmanuel, he freezes, he raises his crucifix, starts to recite a prayer, but his voice wavers.
He's terrified.
He's facing something beyond his understanding, something that challenges everything he knows about the natural world.
Does he try to run?
No. He stands his ground. He starts reciting an exorcism, his voice gaining strength as he speaks the words.
He's really putting it all on the line, huh? Betting everything on his faith.
But the panther, it doesn't even flinch. In fact, it takes a step closer, those glowing eyes never leaving Father Emmanuel's.
So what happens? Does it attack?
You'd expect that, wouldn't you? But that's not what happens at all. The panther lets out this low growl, almost a rumble, that seems to shake the ground beneath Father Emmanuel's feet, and then it lunges. Not to attack him, though. It knocks him aside with a strength that's almost impossible.
What? Why would it do that?
That's the question that hangs in the air, isn't it? It's almost as if the panther is protecting him from something.
Protecting him? But from what?
Well, as Father Emmanuel stumbles to his feet, trying to understand what just happened, he hears a voice, a human voice, coming from the depth of the forest.
Protecting him. But from what?
Well, that's the thing. The panther, it drags Father Emmanuel through the undergrowth, deeper into the forest, like it's pulling him towards something.
Towards that voice.
Right. And as they get closer, the forest opens up, revealing this. Well, it's not a natural cave, not exactly.
What is it then?
The author describes it as this ancient structure, almost completely hidden by overgrowth. There are these carvings on the walls, symbols that seem to writhe and shift in the flickering torchlight. It's like stepping into some forgotten temple, a place where humanity and something collide.
And Father Emmanuel, he just walks right in after what happened with the panther.
He doesn't really have a choice at that point. The panther, it shoves him inside, then disappears into the shadows.
Okay, that is officially creepy. So what does he find in there?
The missing girl. She's alive, but weak, lying on this.
Yeah.
Well, it's like an altar made of smooth black stone, and there are candles everywhere, casting flickering shadows that dance across the walls.
Wait a minute. So the panther, it brought Father Emmanuel to her.
It's more complicated than that. Because standing before that altar, chanting in a language that seems to claw at Father Emmanuel's sanity, is a man.
The voice from the forest.
The sorcerer. He's gaunt, dressed in robes covered in the same strange symbols that are carved into the walls, and his eyes, they glow just like the panther's.
Okay, so we've got a priest, a panther, a missing girl, a creepy cave, and now a sorcerer. This is like something straight out of a fever dream. What's the sorcerer want?
He believes he's on the verge of unlocking something ancient and powerful, something buried beneath the forest for centuries.
And the girl, she's part of this somehow.
She's the key. He's going to sacrifice her to unleash. Well, he doesn't say exactly, but it's clear that whatever he's planning, it's not good.
So what does Father Emmanuel do? He's got to do something, right?
He does the only thing he can do. He falls back on his faith. He starts to pray, his voice echoing off the stone walls, challenging the darkness that has taken root in this place.
And the sorcerer, he just lets him pray.
Oh no, they clash. It's this battle of wills, faith versus ancient magic. The air crackles with unseen energy, and the panther, it watches from the shadows, caught between them.
Between the sorcerer and Father Emmanuel. That's weird. Like it's torn or something.
Exactly. It's almost as if the panther is bound to the sorcerer, forced to obey his commands. But as Father Emmanuel prays, something changes. The panther, it becomes agitated. It paces back and forth, those glowing eyes fixed on the struggle between the two men.
So the prayers, they're affecting the panther. That's wild. It's like something out of a movie.
It's this incredible moment of realization for Father Emmanuel. He sees the conflict within the panther, this struggle between its nature and the sorcerer's control.
And that's when he breaks the connection.
He focuses his prayer not on banishing the sorcerer, but on the panther itself, on setting it free.
What happened?
The panther roars. It's this primal scream full of rage and pain and something else, kind of desperate yearning.
It's free.
The sorcerer, he's furious. He tries to regain control, but it's no use. The bond is broken. And then, well, the panther, it turns on him.
Wow. So the panther is this incredible force, but it was trapped. And by freeing it, Father Emmanuel also saved the village, right? But what about that sorcerer? Some people might think that what happened to him was a bit much.
That's an interesting point. This story really makes you examine the nature of good and evil, doesn't it? And whether the ends always justify the means. The story ends with a powerful message, though. It reminds us that there are forces at work in the world that we may never fully understand.
And that sometimes the best we can do is offer up a prayer and hope for the best.
Perhaps. Or maybe it's about recognizing that we're not always meant to understand. That sometimes the greatest act of faith is trusting in something bigger than ourselves, even if we can't see where it's leading.
Deep stuff. What do you think? Let us know on social media because we always want to hear from you. And we'll be back next time with another deep dive.